Yo, what's going on, people? So, we got an episode coming at you that I am extremely excited about. And I've said that every single episode because it's just true. I'm excited about all my episodes. But this one in particular, because the lady who's on the screen with me is my ex wife. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Eileen.
Hi, it's Eileen. So I wanted to talk about I wanted to have a conversation, right? Because I sit back and when I go through my timeline, it's always some toxic stuff when it comes to exes, right? It's always something toxic. It's always like I hate my ex. I'm gonna kill my ex. My ex was the worst. Blah 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 blah. And we get it because we all have exes. You know what I'm saying? We all have them. And nowadays, unfortunately, for most situations, to have two parents still together and raising a child is the exception nowadays and not the rule. So, with that being said, I thought to myself, it'd probably be a good idea for us to start operating in this new normal without the toxicity that's being pumped out there because there's just so much of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much of it. And, I shot you a text the other day, and it was just a grateful text. I was like, you know what? Like, you know what? Thank you for being a good ex-wife. I had to say it. I had to,
Random, actually.
huh?
It was very random.
It was because sometimes you just gotta sit back and you have to be grateful for what you have in your life. And I don't have a lot right now. I'll be honest, I don't have a lot,
Mhm.
but it's those little things you gotta be grateful for. You know what I'm saying? Like I sit back and sometimes I talk to dudes and all they got is all these horror stories. Oh, my baby mama crazy, blah, 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 blah. And then you talk to these chicks, oh, my baby daddy crazy. Everybody's ex is the worst person in the universe,
Mhm.
right? Every time you talk to somebody, their ex is the worst. And that's all
Mhm.
you ever hear. They were so crazy. They were so abusive. They were so this. They were so that. So I know for me, whenever I'm talking to somebody, it's like, you know what? I'm that whole toxic behavior is going to end with me because I'm going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about the toxic stuff that I did. Talk to anybody who has spoken to me. I never badmouth you. I don't do it. I can talk about what I did, and that's what I do because one, I don't give. I'm not going to curse. Not going to curse. I don't care what people think about me because the fact of the matter is I'm every person. Like we've all done stuff. We've
Mhm.
all hurt people. We've all been in situations where we haven't done the best. We haven't been our best us. So why do we always try to front like it's somebody else's fault? When you can just come and say, look, this is what I did. Situation wasn't perfect and I handled it bad and this is where I'm at. And all we can do is move forward. And so I
Mhm.
sit back and I look at a lot of the collateral damage behind the toxicity is the kids. You understand what I'm saying? Like a lot of
Yeah,
the
for sure.
toxicity falls right on the head of the children.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to have this chat like there's a way and we are living proof of it. We're sitting here, we're talking about it, and this is not no front. The name of this podcast that I do solo is Unfabricated. This is
Mhm.
no front. I do not care putting myself out there. I don't care sitting out there and letting the world see my imperfections because I don't care what
Mhm.
you think. And I know I'm not perfect. Everybody says that. Everybody's like, oh, I'm not perfect, but they try to portray perfection. That's what
Right.
social media is all about. Is you try to portray yourself in the best light as possible. And I'm like, you know what? Let's be a little opposite and let's be more real. Let's try to pump out some authenticity, like for real. So, with that being said, I'm gonna make myself vulnerable because I don't care what people think. And how did we get here? How did we get to this place where we're co-parenting and not parent-parenting? In
How
your words,
how did we get
what do you
here?
think? Let's give the audience what they want. They want me. They want to know what.
Yes. No, you're not gonna get any details from me.
No.
Uh.
Okay.
Uh. Huh?
So okay.
I don't think at this point details are important.
Mm-hmm.
Um. We were talking earlier, and I said that we got here from because of toxic behavior.
Uh-huh.
Uh, you know, some on your part, some on mine.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I think
no
that's
less
important.
on mine. No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
I'm just joking.
But what's important, what just
No.
happened, hold that thought. But what's important, what just happened was what you just said, right? You said some on your part, some on mine. So I think that that's an important distinction, right? Is that I know a lot of times ego plays a huge part in being toxic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hurt you, so you had the right to be bitter and angry. And who is this nigga? Does he know that I'm Eileen? And you could have went on this whole thing, and we all have had our moments. But when it comes to the kid, it never seeped into Kennedy.
No, because I think we were both very mindful not to allow it to even when we were married and the arguments that we had, we never did it in front of her. And
Right.
I think partly why it came to such a surprise to her that we were getting divorced was because she never saw us argue.
Yeah.
We never fought in front of her. Um, and I think that our childhoods, our backgrounds, um, lended to the way we handled Kennedy.
Hmm.
Because I saw a lot of stuff with my parents when it came to them arguing early on in my childhood. Uh, that you have to work through as you get older because
Yeah.
it kind of some things traumatize you.
Yeah.
Um, so I was very mindful, even regardless of the how big the argument may have been or how small.
Mhm.
I think we were always mindful not to show Kennedy a united front.
Right. I think that last part is key, is that showing that united front. And to me, that doesn't end when the relationship ends.
No.
Um, a lot of people, once the relationship ends, all bets is off. Like the gloves come off, and your baby, your father ain't ish, and your mother ain't
Mhm.
ish, and there's a whole lot of trying to get the kid on their side, right?
Right.
Like, who does the kid love more? Who does the kid want to be with more? And I'll be honest, like sometimes it does hurt when your kid doesn't want to be with you or would rather be somewhere else. That's never a fun thing to hear.
Hmm.
But that should never be a tool to be used to make a divided front. Because divided, we all know what happens, right? You become weaker.
Right.
So I know for me, it was all right, fine. This ended. I never thought I'd be divorced, but here we are.
Hmm.
So, how do we make it? And this is how my thinking was. This is going to be devastating for Kennedy. This is going to be
Hmm.
devastating for my daughter. How do we make this blow as soft as possible? And I know for me, the big thing was swallow your ego. Swallow your ego. Your ego is not important. What's important is this child. What's important is Kennedy. And not for
Hmm.
nothing, my peace of mind. Because
Hmm.
it takes way too much energy just to be fighting with you all the damn time. It takes way too much energy to be like, oh, I gotta go see her mother. Oh my God, this is going to be trouble. Oh, I gotta drop off Kennedy. This is going to be trouble. Like,
Hmm.
not from the but a kid aside, kid apart. I know for me, it was just a factor of my peace of mind. Whatever
Hmm.
it took to where there is peace and that I don't have to constantly listen. There are gonna be fights. Me and you, we fight. It happens. We have
Hmm.
times where we're not happy with each other. It happens. But at the end of the day, it never goes too far, in my opinion. Am I right in saying such a thing? I took a pause.
No,
Pause.
I think I think if you want me to be honest, I think there's been times where you've crossed the line in
Okay.
certain things that you've said. Um, for me, I everybody has a line, right? So me saying you crossed the line with me is different from you crossed the line with somebody else, or like those kinds of things sometimes look different. So I know for me there have been times where in arguing and finding that that balance when it comes to Kennedy and, certain things that we haven't seen eye to eye with. There have been times where you've crossed the line with me.
I've never
And you, yeah, okay. And you've pissed me off.
I've
And
never pissed you off either. That's a lie.
that's my fault. You're perfect.
Okay, so even with, so let's stick to that, right? So you say I've crossed the line, right? And for me, I know those times you're talking about. And for me, they were just setting boundaries. Like I needed to set boundaries. But even with that situation, we were still able to be mad, be pissed off, you know what I'm saying? Be angry, and yet still co-parent. And I think that's what I'm trying to get to. That's what I like. I like that you said that I crossed the line, because it shows people that we don't have like this harmonious kumbaya relationship all the time. Sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't. But it never defines how we co-parent in a negative or positive manner. Let me put it this way. After we argue, I might think to myself, I can't stand her, but it's never, I can't stand her, so I'm going to make her life difficult with Kennedy.
No.
You understand what I'm saying? So, go ahead.
No, for me either. I think, and I've said this before, that's the beauty of divorce to me. You can get on my nerves, and at the end of the day, it don't matter what you say to me, because I come home and it's me and Kennedy, or it is what it is. But it's finding, because there are times I'll hang up and I'll say, I don't want to deal with him. Right. I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to respond to another text message. I don't want to. Yes, but we have a daughter together.
Right.
So there is no just getting you out of my life and dismissing you. Like, you have to find a way to push past whatever annoyance there is at the time, because we share a kid.
So how do you do that though? If somebody says, all right, that's nice, but how?
How?
Yeah, how?
I just never want to operate in bitterness. And I've seen what being bitter for years looks like. And I've seen it affect generations.
Right.
And you know what I'm talking about.
I do know exactly what you're talking about.
And I experienced it. My parents have been married for about 44 years now. So it's not that I come from a broken home, because I don't, but my mom does. And, I've seen what that kind of tug of war does to kids. And, generations. Now you're not just talking about my mom and her brothers, but, me, my brother, my cousins, that kind of middle tug of war going back and forth. I've never wanted to be that. I've never wanted to operate in bitterness. And I think that, you deal with, divorce is hard. Divorce is not easy. Divorce is difficult. It's literally ripping two people apart that were one, now we've separated our lives. It's not an easy thing.
Right.
But I think that so many times what happens is that people hang on a little bit to that bitterness. They hang on to that anger, because for whatever reason, every circumstances, every place, everybody's different.
Yeah.
But I allowed myself to heal. I allowed myself to go through that healing journey, to get to the other side of it. And because it takes too much energy to be bitter.
That's a fact.
It's a lot of energy to hold on to anger.
It really is. It really is.
And I don't have time for it.
And that energy seeps into, like you said, all the people around you.
Yeah.
Not even just Kennedy. That energy starts to seep into anybody you come into contact with. You can feel bitterness oozing off of somebody.
Yeah.
And into your being. And to me, that's what I think is interesting, is that resolve not to be bitter. That's the hardest thing, I think, to deal with, because a person becomes bitter. Why? A person becomes bitter because something was done to them that they didn't appreciate, right? So something was done to me that hurt me. And so
Mm-hmm.
you start to hold on to that hurt, and you're almost looking for that, you're looking for that perfect time to strike, right? You're looking for
Mm-hmm.
that perfect time to get back. You're looking for that perfect time to take your shot. And then it starts to sit inside you and it becomes poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a child involved. And so anytime your child doesn't understand your bitterness and your anger, so when you're dealing with your kid, if you hold on to that bitterness, they're just confused. Like, why
Right.
do you hate daddy so much? Why do you hate mommy so much? Because to a kid, a parent is the best. We're here with superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's some kind of poison that's seeping into that, it really really breaks what should be untouchable for a child. You know what I'm saying? To keep that parent as as untouchable as possible for as long as you can. Because once they turn teenagers, it's over. You're an a hole anyway, and stupid and dumb. So until they become teenagers, when you're stupid, dumb, and an a hole, and you don't know nothing, and we ain't gonna talk about that because we're there now.
Not
That's
me.
a
She
topic
thinks
for
I'm
another
cool.
day. Yeah, she thinks you're cool. Okay, she thinks I'm cool too.
She
Until
does.
she
She does it all the time.
until she don't. Until we tell her no, then we're not cool at all. But so like that I know for me it was a resolve. Like, all right, sure, some things happened the way I didn't like. Sure, we're here. I didn't want to be here. But you know what? I refuse, as hard as this is, I refuse for my daughter to be affected.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse. One way or another. I refuse. And there was a part of me that trusted the fact that you were going to be on the same page with that. That makes it a lot easier. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
lie. It makes it a lot easier because I knew that as bad as things might have gotten, as hard as the argument may have went, as whatever was said. For 1 second, I never really doubted that Kennedy was going to be good in all of
Mm-hmm.
this. You understand what I'm saying? So that kind of made it okay. Like, all right, we
Mm-hmm.
can fight. I don't care. I'm a different person. I can set my new boundaries. It's not going to be easy, but it is what it is. But at the same time, I was able to say, you know what? At the end of the day, I know we co-parent because we talked about it, and it was something that I think we discussed and we really had a mature conversation about. And I think that that maturity factor is huge. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is huge. That when you're dealing with a ex, especially an ex that you're tied to now forever because you have a child, you have a fork in the road. You can either do it with lots and lots and lots of disdain, or you can do it with peace.
Mm-hmm.
And to take the road of peace is not easy. I'm not gonna lie and say, "Oh, just
No,
do it." No,
it's
it's
not.
not easy. It takes a lot of swallowing of the pride. It takes a lot of swallowing of the ego. But you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? You
Yeah.
know, is it worth it?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Um, I'll even say this, our co-parenting is also different because we live in different states.
Yeah, that don't matter.
It does.
I
It
mean, what I
does.
mean is, the bitterness can cross state lines.
Oh, no. On that side, yes, you're right. But there are exes that have to deal with each other multiple times a week.
But
Like,
even when we deal with each other, it's not terrible.
no, it's not. I mean, it's not. It's not terrible. But I think that it's also a different dynamic because we're living in different states.
And how so? What do you mean? Like, what different dynamic, easier or harder?
For me, I think it's both. It's both. It's easier in the sense where um I don't I don't have to deal with the
You gotta deal
whole
with me.
weekend thing, you know?
Oh, you don't gotta deal with me. You happy that you don't gotta deal with me.
No, I don't. I don't. You know, I don't share her for the weekend. I don't there's no dropping off back and forth. Any of that kind of switching, oh, you didn't take her this weekend, or there's that loss, that element to the whole thing is lost. But then it makes it harder. It makes it harder in the sense where it's just me and her, you know. There's that lack of physical presence,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that makes it difficult. And I think that there were times, the pressure that was between you and I had a lot to do with you not being here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because a lot of the parenting fell on me,
Mm-hmm.
in the day to day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very easy not to forget to, you know, call you on the phone to kind of run something past you when it comes to Kennedy, because you know it's the day to day and the week to week element is kind of lost,
Uh-huh.
you know, because it's not a, hey, I'm picking up Kennedy, this is my weekend, you
Right.
know. So there are certain things that I find I have to be mindful of, like the whole lacrosse situation this week. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, hey, mommy, can I join lacrosse? And I'm like, yeah, sure. We should probably just let daddy in on it. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like,
That'd be nice.
you know, do you mind if she joined? I knew you wouldn't, but you know,
I kind of do though. It's a white person sport.
oh, please, you don't.
Anyway, go ahead. What happened now?
But you know, I just think that us being parenting in two different states is different.
Right. So with all like, so we have all of these things, right? That are I can understand why exes hate each other. You know, we all can understand why there's disdain. It's easier. It's easier. Okay, you're perfect. It's easier to take that stance and let things fall apart, right? It's easier to do. It's easier just to write somebody off and say, "Oh, your mother ain't ish." It's all easy. "Oh, your father ain't it." It's easier to do. It's easier to just not stay involved in her life and stay out. Oh, I'm in another state, so whatever happens over there happens. Um, and that's what happens a lot of times. We're usually going to choose the easiest road to go down for ourselves. And when it comes to a kid, that's not what you can do anymore.
Right.
And it's hard on a mother who on you know you're dealing with the day to day. So I get that it's hard. Um, you have a lot on your plate, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then for myself, emotionally, it's a lot on my plate. You understand? I know that's always emotions, whatever, but it's a real thing. You know, and emotionally, it's a lot to handle. You know, it's a lot to carry. It's a lot to
Mm-hmm.
bear. Um,
Being away.
being away, it's a lot. It's necessary, but it's a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know for myself, you know, I'll talk to the dudes out there. I'm in another state and I try my best to make my presence as heavy as I possibly can. So every couple of months, I'm in New York. Now that takes a financial toll, that takes a physical toll, that takes an all kinds of toll. And I'm already dealing with health issues. So when you throw it all together, there's a lot to be up against. But who cares?
Mm-hmm.
What's important? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's important? For me, I never have any respect for any man who does not have a presence in his kid's life. Because I'm thousands of miles away, and I always tell people, I'm thousands of miles away, and I make sure that I have some kind of presence in her life.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna know that I did not totally abandon her. She might not understand that right now, but when she gets older and realizes how many times I'm in New York, it's almost like I didn't leave. It's for you.
Mm-hmm.
What's that face? Go ahead.
I mean,
It's unfabricated.
it,
Talk your truth.
It won't be almost like you didn't leave. It's like you left.
Right.
You know, it's
But I'm here all the time, ain't I? As much as I can be.
I mean, yeah, as much as you can be. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Cameras are rolling, sure.
Yeah.
Listen, that's what I know that I'm doing.
Hmm.
Is that as much as I can, I have to make this all work out as much as I can. Am I perfect at it? Listen, I got no problem saying I'm not. And I always try to figure things out and try to find better ways to do things. But I think that that's what's important is that we always try to figure something out to make it as as easy as possible because it's not going to be easy.
Look, at the end of the day, are all the choices you've made agreeable to me? Do I agree with that? I don't. I don't. There are choices that you've made that I don't agree with.
That's fine.
Do I think, you could have done things better, or do sure, as I'm sure you look at me and think the same way. Like, we're not together for a reason,
Right.
you know but I think when it all comes down to it, regardless of my viewpoint and regardless of whatever differences we might have, Kennedy is the most important factor to me.
Right.
And divorce is hard enough for a kid, and she didn't walk away from this unscathed.
Hmm.
She was affected by it. There was no way around her not being affected by it.
Right.
You know, I think my job and your job was not to add to that.
Right. There you go.
It was not, it's not to, add the bitterness and the anger and the, oh, you know why we're not together? Because your father X, Y, and Z. There's no place for that with her.
Right.
There's no place for that kind of toxic behavior. There's just no place for it when it comes to the parent-child relationship. And I think as a mom, and being divorced and in a place where I never really wanted to find myself, I had to be very conscious to make sure that I allowed healing in my life.
Mm.
So that way the atmosphere in my home was healthy,
Right.
and toxic free, regardless of whatever went on around us. My home was a safe space for her,
Right.
you
I
know.
yeah. No, I think that that's all key, and I can attest to it. And that's what I liked about this is that if one of us is lying, the other one could just say, "Nope, that's a lie." But fact of the matter is, we're both sitting here with telling y'all like it's possible.
Hmm.
It's possible. It is possible to be hurt. It is possible to be, all the things that come with a past relationship, and yet at the same time co-parent, and yet at the same time not become super bitter and angry towards the other person. Like I said, even apart from the kid,
Right.
like there's no sense. It is what it is. It's happened,
It's
and
done.
all you can do is try to live a pleasant life afterwards.
Hmm.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah,
not?
it's true,
And I
because
always tell people that.
even apart from Kennedy, you hang on to bitterness, you take that into your next relationship, like that carries over,
Yeah,
and nobody wants to, at least
yeah,
I
me
don't
neither.
want to live like that. It's not fair to
Anybody that
anybody.
you're dealing with, you're right. It's not fair to anybody that you're dealing with.
No.
They're not throwing, and it's funny because I think so when it comes to the public, I always treat it across the board. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna tell Kennedy, or I'm not gonna be one way in front of Kennedy and another way around other people. So what I mean by that is, I'm not gonna get around Kennedy and act like things are great, and then when I get into the public, drag you through the mud. To me, that's counterproductive because at the end of the day, you are still the mother of my child. So, and not only that, how does it look on me? You understand? Like that's the other part that some people really don't understand. Like,
Yeah, it says more
all
about
your-
you than it does about the other person.
yeah, like all your exes were so terrible. How about your decision making be better? Like,
Yeah.
you gotta choose better sometimes. Like, why
Mhm.
are all if all your exes are terrible, it's probably you.
Right.
If you never had a good ex at all, you need to start questioning your own behavior
Right.
because you might be the toxic one. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, it's like when I go out into the public, I can control how people see you because that's the picture that I paint. They're gonna believe they can only hear what I say. They're not going to be able to call you up and say, yo, is this true? Yo, is that true? So
Mhm.
what benefit does it do me to paint a horrible picture of you when, like you said, every day you have my daughter in mind? And the fact of the matter is, I know one day you're going to make some guy happy. That's fine. We didn't work out. That doesn't mean you're a terrible person. I know I'm not a terrible person. I know I'm going to make somebody happy. So why do we continue? You can make your face all you want. I'm gonna make people happy. I don't, but I will one day at some point in life. Whatever.
I
Then
didn't say nothing.
you made a face. I saw your
I
face.
said nothing.
I don't care.
Yes,
Anyway, um, but for real though, like I refuse to paint this picture and try to control this narrative to make me look like
better.
something I'm not.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. We prop ourselves up, right? That's what
Well,
you
yeah,
do.
because you're coming out of failed relationship, so you want to make yourself seem it wasn't me.
Right.
I didn't do nothing wrong.
Right.
I did everything I could to make sure that it went the way it should have. So, you spend all that energy in trying to create this narrative
That's what it is.
where you're not at fault,
Right.
and the truth of the matter is that I think there's never one person 100% to blame
Yeah.
when a divorce is the outcome.
Right.
I know that I had to learn, yes, these are the places where I was hurt. These are the places where I feel like these are the reasons why the marriage is done. But this is where I need to work on. This is where
Yeah.
I didn't do what I should have done. This is the response that maybe wasn't the healthiest response. And you have to own that.
Right.
Because if you don't look back on a failed marriage and reflect on where you went wrong, chances are you're going to bring that into the next relationship. You're going to repeat them, and
Not the numbers say that. The
Yeah.
numbers after your first marriage, your chances of making it go down each time. Each time they go down. And so it's funny that you said that owning it part. And I think that's where a lot of us draw the line for ourselves, right? Like a lot of us have a real hard time owning what we did. Because like I said, it's easier just to say, well, because we all know why we did what we did. Everything we do, we make a excuse in our own head for. Right? The Bible says that every man is justified in his own head for whatever it is he does. So the question that sometimes you got to ask yourself is, I did that. Damn, that was effed up. Why? What brought me to that place? What brought me to that place that I felt that was the answer? Because it obviously wasn't.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like sometimes we have to be able to take a step outside of ourselves and say, I broke this. This is the aspect that I broke.
Right.
Now, what's the lesson? What do I need to know about myself? Because another verse in the Bible says that only God knows the fathoms of a man's heart. That means that you don't even know yourself as well as you think you do.
Right.
So sometimes we find ourselves in these places where we might do something out of character. And it's important to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this? And I think that if we can get to that place of healing, like you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about, but if we can get to that place of self-realization where we see ourselves in a real light. And that's why I wanted to go on live and do all of these things so that people can just see this isn't me up here trying to seem like some dude who's got it all together and you want to be like me. And here's 5 ways for you to make your relationship work. Nah. This is the real deal. This is a screwed up situation and how we can make it better. At least how I
Mm-hmm.
made it better.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than trying to portray myself as to something that I'm not.
No, no. I think it all comes down to, you have to you have to come to a place of healing. It's never going to it's never going to work if you don't allow the Lord to heal you in the way you need to be healed.
Mm,
It's never going to work. There's no way that I would have been able to co-parent with you had I not gone through the healing process first.
mm,
It just it wouldn't have worked for me.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm over it." But the proof is in the pudding. Like,
that's
if
a fact.
you're constantly arguing and you're constantly bashing and you're constantly, using the kid as
Weapon.
a pawn, you know, then chances are you're not over it.
Right.
And there's still some kind of remnants of hurt there that needs to be dealt with.
Right. And
Um,
let's be real. Like the hurt never really it never goes fully away. Right? Like there's not like a switch where this amount of years have gone by and so there's now it lessens and it becomes easier to deal with and you deal with it differently, but it's not like, oh, one day it's all gone and you never think about it again, because like you said, divorce is traumatic. It's
mhm,
traumatic and it's forever. And
mhm,
it's something that you have to carry. It's something that you just gotta have. You're gonna have to just carry it.
mhm.
But when you learn yourself and when you go through that healing process, like you were talking about, it becomes manageable and you learn better. You learn better how to manage this situation so that it never happens again. If
Right,
you're willing to take a step back, look at your factors,
right,
look at your factors. Forget about the reasons. And that's the hard part, right? Forget about the excuses. Forget about the yeah, but she. Forget about the yeah, but he. Forget about the yeah, but.
right,
What did I do?
right.
And
Well,
that's not
because
victim blaming.
no, when you but he X, Y, and Z, there there's almost like that. You I know for me, it's when I've gone there, it's because I want reconciliation.
Hmm.
I and once you get to a point of divorce, there is no reconciliation.
Right.
Now you're divorced, and now you have to take a step back and say, okay, this is what it is. These are the circumstances that led us here. This is where I found myself. Now how do I move forward in life? How do I move on to become a healthy human being,
Yeah.
that's not filled with so much anger and bitterness and resentment. um and a big part of that is looking at yourself,
Right.
and having to take ownership over your part in it,
Yeah.
and that's not to say that there aren't circumstances where every circumstance is different, but I think that we all have a part we play.
Yeah.
you know we all lend to the outcome in
Right.
some way. And I think self-reflection is a very healthy thing
It's
to do,
extremely healthy.
to
It's
look
extremely healthy.
inward
Yeah.
first. you know, and then to move forward
Right.
and what you find. And we're always changing. We're always evolving.
Right.
You know, we're always learning new things about ourselves.
It's a part of the process.
Yeah, it's life. It's life.
It is a part of the process. When you can accept that it's life and that life is not going to look like what everybody depicts it to be and what everybody tells you it should look like, it's a lot. It'll be a lot easier for you in life. A lot. I appreciate this, man. This was good. I think I want to end it here. I'd like to do another segment at some point.
With me?
At some point, yeah, we're gonna talk about some other stuff. Why not?
All right.
And I put you on the spot. You ain't gonna do
You
it.
did. I don't know how many people are watching.
We had a couple people interested. They wanted to see the train wreck. They were like, "Oh my god, Christian and Eileen are on. What happened to them? They used to be such a great couple. They're divorced now. Oh my god, maybe they'll tell the reasons why."
Nope.
That's
Don't
what's
hear
happening.
that from me.
Nosy people, nosy. Y'all all nosy.
Yep.
But
I see.
nah, I really do appreciate this, and I don't know. We'll talk about if we do it again or not. I thought it went well, and I'd like to.
Yeah.
Maybe we could be America's favorite divorced couple. How about that?
Sure. Why not?
Oh man, this is an episode of Unfabricated coming at y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening. Y'all can go to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. We're gonna have a whole bunch of ain't nothing off the table with me. I'm gonna put myself out there. Y'all know I don't care. And that's what we do. So thank everybody. Thank you, Eileen.
Sure.
And we'll do it next time. See y'all again. 1.